Welcome to the Federation X podcast. This is a wildly unplanned podcast that we threw together so that you could join myself and Chris, who is Tony Robes, and we could talk about a couple of things. I think first and foremost, and I know we'll probably steal a little of the plan from the dirt sheet, but I want to talk for a minute about the Rumble because we were about to start talking about it before we started, and I thought that's a mistake. We should start podcasting and let you guys jump in and maybe kick in a little bit as we talk about this. So I was about to say we're looking at the last two teams, and not a knock on that. Well, I'll put a knock on the Gordita whatever Express team they are. But I think the piece that I was going to say is, like, we had some pretty established teams who had actually, tried to build up to how they became the team, and who's in the final two, like a throwaway Dave Diamond tag team moment, and Sam White and Valentine, who I think are capable of being entertaining, but got thrown together for the Rumble.
They're not even that active, really, either.
No. So I think, like, my first reaction, and I was going to comment on this to you. This is Rumble norm, and I don't know how many people remember Rumbles and us doing them, but the bigger your profile, the earlier you go out.
I saw one where Gino won, though. How did that happen?
So Gino's won, Alan's won, Ed's won. Like, it happens, but we changed one of the rules intentionally in this Rumble. So two things used to happen, right? Remember, our sim used to be based on your activity. So inactives didn't win Rumbles because they were bitches and it was easy to knock them out, right? And now we go on 50-50, which means being active or inactive has no bearing in the Rumble.
Nope.
And so it's a
Should have
complete...
kept my mouth shut.
Right. It's a screw job. And then I think the other thing is, we used to, in the Rumble, if you used all 5 of your attacks in a day, we would reduce your loss count by 1.
Oh, that would have helped us so much. Right,
because you could be there like, fine. We'll look at, in the first days, not everybody did all 5 potential attacks, right?
No, they didn't. Yeah.
You could only get so many. Now, we upped the post count, so you couldn't get fluff posts. You had to actually get to 500 words. And we didn't give you the benefit of being crazy active. And in the end, it really comes down to sim luck. How many times on the days when, if the first 2 days, if you lose, it doesn't count against you. Like, how many times did you see somebody go at you and lose? Like, I lost my first 6 sims.
Yeah, I think every team attacked us.
Right.
And we only went out, like, right at the start of the second day when the attacks refreshed.
Right.
So every team went at us, and a lot of them lost.
Yeah. And so we changed some things to try and make sure a Rumble could end a little earlier. Like, we used to have Rumbles that would last for 5 days because you couldn't get to a finish. And it's dumb, right? You just want to get it done. So that was problematic. So we removed that, and we removed the ability to scale back your losses so that you couldn't hang around. But the real reason that you don't see what would otherwise be the strongest teams still in is that the sim isn't weighted anymore. It changes everything, right? When the sim was weighted, you had to have a 5 or higher. I mean, you had to have like a pretty good level of activity the week before the sim. So if you go back and look, Rumble weeks were crazy spiked for activity. The week before the Rumble, also crazy spiked because everybody knew you couldn't go into a Rumble without the strongest possible. And so in that scenario, somebody in a situation like Dave, he's dead. Like, he gets in the Rumble and nobody like in this one, nobody attacks him because they know on day 3 they can just smack him around. There's nothing he can do. But in this one, you're looking at him and you're going, well, we're on day 3, and if I sim him and I lose, I'm out. So do I want to initiate the sim?
It's crazy how we've agreed to this, and, like, the most active players are losing a lot of matches.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
so true. It was funny. So Tech's other character is in a match with me, and he sent me a text this morning. He's like, I guess I know how the match is going to end. And I read it as he won 5 in a row. And I was like, F the sim, because I'd been losing all the Rumble matches. And then I went back and reread it. I was like, oh, he won the first match, and then I won 4 in a row. Like it was the opposite. There's just no predicting it. I went 0 for 6 to start the Rumble.
Yeah.
And I think I went a grand total of, and between 2 characters being in it, I might have gone 3 or 4 and 7. Like the win rate was, and if I'd won more, like some of the guys who got losses in on us got them in because I failed when I attacked them and couldn't knock them out. And then they had time to do another post and do damage to us, right? Like it just, you do want to be like, let me knock, I didn't knock them out. Oh, and then because they're still in, they attacked me and I took another loss. Awesome. Screw that. Yeah. It's just tough that way. I think the Rumble is one of the places. I think in a one-on-one match, you're going to have some streaks. You do okay. You don't do okay. But the Rumble's that place where you kind of go, really? Like really? These are the teams in the finals of the Rumble? And that's not a knock on any of the players, but as teams, you look early at what happened. Everybody took a run at the new breed, which you should have expected.
Yeah, well, no, we did. We expected that.
Yeah. And then, the second most was like, I don't know how Pimp and Pock got knocked out. I don't know why anybody cared and that they got knocked out early, to be honest.
I think they were, I think because they got in really, really early and all the big teams didn't come out. So people just used the odd attack on them here and there. And I think they just built up, really.
Yeah. So I don't want to tip my hand. Obviously, like we brought Mano and Ed out and started by just sitting around the ringside being like, oh, yeah, like not actually getting in the ring to see what we knew somebody would bring us into the ring. We weren't worried about it. But I intentionally said to Of when he was like, okay, so you'll do this? I'm like, yeah, post our entrance 1 minute before 9 o'clock. And he's like, why? And I'm like, wait and see how many teams are already at 3 losses by the time we get in. Like,
yeah.
And so, and it was more of the, like, some days you just like in the old days, if you were a sim monster, you went early. You're like, get in, come on, let's go. Because you're a sim monster. But there's no sim monsters anymore. It's flip a coin. So getting in early was.
We didn't really, I don't know. I don't think we took that into account when we were planning ahead of it, like what we were going to do. I don't think we took that because we were just like you said, like Dave and Fantastica, they'll probably be out on day 2 because they might not get enough sims in or they might not get enough,
Right.
So just didn't happen.
I thought for sure that while Storm was still in, there was a reasonable chance that the Dave Fantastico team just didn't post enough and picked up some casual losses from not posting. Yeah. And then Eric gets to the end and he's like, I can't believe you guys are letting me be in. I'm like, why are you still posting? Like, why didn't you just show up and take some losses?
And the guy gets out so many posts. Like I have ideas for alts I want to run and I'm just like, I just don't have the time. But the guy is going mental and he's only just come back.
Yeah.
Like he's literally just come back.
So I think we should all shame him every time a new alt shows up. Like he's so full of creative ideas.
Yeah.
But he's also capable of burnout. And it's a real thing we have. We can't afford great players to be burning. We're better off playing one character and not burning out than we are burning out. The longer we keep the game going, the longer we keep people in the game engaged, the more we get guys who kind of show up out of the shadows and go, shit, this is still going on. Maybe I will stick my toe in and play. When we started talking in late November, we thought, wouldn't it be cool?
Seems like forever ago.
Yeah. Could we get 10 of us? Do you not remember when Bill was laughing at us? Like, are we going to fake a relaunch again? Like how mocking he was about it?
It's gone crazy. I'm so glad it's back, but it has gone crazy. Like, I think Zim's counted close to 30 characters on the roster right now. Like,
So I do
active.
my best to keep my finger on how many players we have outside of alts, like actual players. And on any given week, now we've had a couple drop off for different reasons. All of them and we should do this as a community. We should be reaching back out to be like, hey, you're not like gone permanently, right? Like I get it, stuff's going on. Maybe you can't play for 6 months, but like don't lose touch. Keep watching the podcast. We need to keep the community, even with guys like Bomber who had stuff going on in his life, or Chip who had stuff going on in his, right? Like
he was supposed to come back last night, but obviously I think something's come up. But he has been talking in the Discord
which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Lars reached out to him straight away. Tim reached out to him like almost immediately.
And I keep a running list. So in your first week of inactivity, I turn you red in the heat tracker. And then in week 2, you come out of the standings because you're gone. But I pay attention and have a list. So every so often, Tim and I will trade comments about the list, like who should reach out and just make sure they're cool, that, we didn't burn bridges or nobody behind the scenes like got a little butthurt. Gino's on there on a regular basis. We got to check in and make sure he's still okay. But there have been periods or weeks where I've looked and gone, we have 24 players.
Like individual, geez.
Yeah. And so you start thinking your way through the numbers, right? Like Techno and Storm and you and me and Tim, right? Samite, Valentine, Benny, Benny's out right now, Kansas Kid, Axe, Weedman, Carnage, Omega, like, and Angelica, Bill, Jay-Z, Faith. We're at 16, and I know I'm forgetting all kinds of people right now because I'm on the spot, right? Like, it doesn't take terribly a lot for you to suddenly realize we actually have a fair Dr. A, Cannibal, Eliza the Prophet. So they're 17, 18, 19. Athelia Crow, 20. Andrew Wright, 21. Person Peoples, Gmo, 22.
He was a Gmo, yeah. Jesus.
Manowar, 23.
Have you said yourself?
I have said myself. Of is 24.
Deacon, Brody.
Yep, 25. Like, yeah, the alts add up quickly. There's a ton of alts, but man, there's actually a lot of players.
There is. It's good. And I think there's still people on the wings looking in, and like we've seen it, like Jelly, Techno, Storm all came back in like quite a close time, and just I think this extra I think I was saying it to Eric, sorry. All this extra content, Legs Eric, sorry. All this extra content really helps, like the dirt sheet, the podcasts, because they might not have time to write, but then they'll watch a podcast. Like, because Naked Man, I know he's watched podcasts because that motherfucker called me a Scotsman in one of his posts, right? So I know he watches the podcast. And then look, he's come back on the boards, like posting. So
I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite jokes. Every time somebody is going to write something about your character, I'm like, oh, talk about how he's Scottish. Like, constantly.
That didn't get lost on me. I noticed it. I went, fucker, like literally reading it, just like, you bastard.
So good. That's so good. Yeah, it's amazing to me as we look, and we know that there are others. We know that the community is out there, and we really haven't, partially intentionally, it's taken a lot longer to try and find some legs for a new site and some design elements to do it. But the good news is, like, when that day really does drop, then we're in a position to start thinking about like hey, come play with us, like a more new players. But even for us just attracting old players or existing players now, man, we've done a great job. And a lot of great players have shown up, and we're doing cool stuff. Like, I don't know if you caught it. We did something different for every title we brought back.
Yeah.
right? It wasn't just
Yeah.
rehash tournament. We did, so we went with heat to book the first story.
Yeah.
We went
Me and Cam,
tournament off card for the second story. And then we went with a rumble for the third story. So there
You
was,
couldn't have done the rumble for the fucking Harbinger. Like, honestly. Did it have to
listen,
be
you got a
tag team
free
rumble?
title shot at the big belt in the first match. Don't
Tag
start
team
whining
rumble.
about this.
Tag team rumble, though. It's just madness.
It is chaotic, and
Look
I
at the
think
view
that's
count. Look at the amount of posts in the container. Like, it's crazy.
right. Have you done the math? I keep telling people to do the math. It means there's over 70,000 words in that match. Now, go Google what like Lord of the Rings is.
Jesus, what is it?
It's not that. It's pretty wild. It's amazing to me, and Bill pointed it out. Like there were at some point like 1,400 reads into that container. Like I think the chaos of it, like obviously, you know, if you read it start to finish, the continuity would break your brain. Like there's
I think it
no,
has after the second page. Like
you can't. I think the first few people were like, "Oh, neat, I'll follow you," and then it got ruthless, and people were just trying to get posts up to get other people out, and there was no continuity at all.
yeah, there was a swerve in there somewhere. A big swerve and stable formation in the middle of a fucking rumble, and probably
Wait,
no
I
one
missed
read
it. What happened?
What exactly? I was telling fucking Legs Eric he should have reposted it because Max and Eliza bent down the halls of seriousness, and they've joined with Techno and Storm to form the Bloodline.
Oh, who
And that
saw
happened
that?
in the middle of a rumble.
I can't believe it. They swerved into Bloodline again. Like, who knew?
Oh, I didn't know. I went around for the first one, I don't think.
I was. You know, I not at all surprised by Max. I actually thought the Prophet had something going with the serious angle.
Mm.
I'm not surprised, obviously, that he made the move with his tag team partner. They go back a long way. But at the same time, I thought he was really hitting a groove with his pals in the Society of Serious Wrestlers. So
I think the reason the Odd Father came out was something he was busy at work. I'm pretty sure. I saw something in Discord about he was really busy at work. He didn't have time to really get into anything. And I think this sort of gives him a lease of life. That's why he brought out the Odd Father to just shitpost for a couple of days, because I think it's something like that. I'm pretty sure I saw something like that on Discord, which happens. It happens to people.
it does. Absolutely. And I will say, like, you know, you were talking earlier about all of Eric's alts and the fact that he's got 42 of them going at any given moment. And probably 4 that he's planning their entrance moments, right? We haven't seen Inferno yet, Eric. Like maybe you want to slip him in. It's, you know, Carissa Rain hasn't been back. Sean Justice, actually, he has talked to me about Sean Justice, so that could be a thing that's happening.
I've seen him logging in as Sean Justice.
Yeah. So there's definitely, but one of the elements of that, like, because I go through it, I have a history with a lot of alts. So when Mano came back, I was like, all right, I guess I'm committed to Ed because I used Ed to get Mano to come back. Right. At the same time, you know, Kid likes to get on Discord every now and then. I just throw him a, hey, 2021's the year of Austin James. And he's all over it because he loves Austin James. I'm like, oh, but I got to
see what we did to him in hell, would you?
I didn't know.
It's probably for the best, to be honest. It's probably
so I forget who I was talking to about this. It might have been Gino, and I said, I don't know if everybody realizes the Austin James posts aren't his story; they're Jesse's story.
It's I knew that. I loved it. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
Second person narrative. It's the story of the forgotten brother who loathes the popular child, right? I said to him, like, for all you know, that's not how Austin James is at all. He doesn't speak in third person. He's not rude. Like, you don't know because you see the whole story through the eyes of his brother who hates him.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
I got that. I like that.
Yeah, it was always fun to do from that standpoint. It's funny that Weedy thinks that Austin James is a ripoff of Weedman. Like, I'm sorry, I don't see the connection there. I love it.
Speaking of Weedman and speaking of Austin James, one of the reasons I gave Excess the win in that King of Wrestling match was because he got Jesse James kidnapped. And I just thought, nice. He's kidnapped. No one knows what I was. Nice. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm going to give you the pity win because of that. That was brilliant. Weedy was the other judge, wasn't he?
Right. Well, because Lars was the first judge.
You can blame him. You can blame
Lars.
Him.
Lars was clear. If you read it, he's like, this is clearly Austin James wins this. Like, it wasn't even Lars. He wasn't even nice to Johnny XS about it. He's like, he screwed up too much. And then Weedy finally comes out later. He's like, oh, I just reread that. That was the worst judging I've done. I'm like, screw you. Like,
that's so funny.
Good times. And that means we never got to find out, did Jesse James go full jihadist?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was, jihadist, and he was going to convert and everything. And then,
right. And I was prepared to sell that. No problem. I had ideas, and then I was like, oh, I lose. I don't have to deal with this anymore. So Weedman's argument is he was the first person to put Federation X on Twitter. And that's true. That's absolutely true. But that was just like a small piece of the Austin James angle. Like, I think it was fun, but
Twitter played a massive part into it. Like, yeah.
Right. And it was neat. It was one of the things when you started doing Tony Robes where I said, I started sharing my Twitter ideas. Like, it doesn't even, like, just answer people in your posts on Twitter. Like, there's so much you can do, because if you want to play the people still love me, even though the fans boo me, you can do that. If you want to play the, hey, smug fans hit me up and I burn them down on Twitter, you can play that. Like, it's such a great tool to play that heel.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I need to use it more. Like, I'll use it every now and again, but I do need to remember to use it more, because, like you said, it is a great tool to just, be a dick if I want to, or just stroke my own ego if I want to. Like, it's just, I need to use that a hell of a lot.
It's just so good. Like, could you imagine if Twitter existed in like late 70s, early 80s when Flair was in his prime?
Ric Flair on Twitter. Oh my God.
Like, Flair could land in a city. So when we start traveling, and be like, who wants to be my bitch tonight? And then have to pick, right? Like, I mean, when you think
about showing a picture of all his DMs just going up back,
right. And that should be, you get that moment where you're doing an interview and Shelly asks some stupid condescending question. You just pull it out and spin your DMs and go, really, Shelly? Really? Like, just totally stare her down. Like, that would be fantastic. Oh, well, that's, I think those are all great angles and pieces. But one of the things, give me a second, I'm going to clear up my video. Sometimes it blurs because I move too much while I'm talking. Let's see if it comes back cleaner. There we go. Camera. Yeah. One of the things that we talked about doing, and we're going to do, and I don't know if the date's going to be next week or 2 weeks now, sometime in March. I mean, it is March Madness. So sometime in March, we're going to do a fantasy draft. We're going to bring on 4 commissioners who are pretty significant historic commissioners. And we're going to draft wrestlers. And so when I say wrestlers, I don't mean writers. I'm not going to draft Tim. I might draft Lasher, and you might be like, that's fine because I want Maverick Dawson, right? Like, we're going to draft characters. Maybe you've got 4 alts out there and they don't get drafted at all. Like, maybe that happens. And if that happens, do not take your ball and go home. That is not the appropriate response. The appropriate response is to be so good that we all regret that we didn't draft you.
Sure.
So
how many do we get? How many picks?
So I think that's one of the questions, right? I was thinking we're going to do maybe 15.
So it's 60.
Yeah.
60 characters. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
so you're
that's
going to get people who try and be clever. So they're going to think about guys as a character that they know are legendary names that half of our players never saw play.
yeah.
Right? Somebody's going to go, I should draft Comet Meeker. Like, how many of you actually remember him?
I have no idea.
Right. So I have a totally different approach. I'll tell you guys up front. I'm going to draft the people I like playing with the most. That's who I'm going to draft. I'm going to draft guys that look up and go, hey, he wasn't the best player. I'm like, are you kidding? Yeah, he didn't win a USOB. Yes, he's not in the Hall of Fame. I think that's all stupid. He's amazeballs, and the fact that he's not getting drafted sooner is crazy.
I don't think titles matter, really.
What's that?
I really don't think titles matter in this
No.
equation when picking at all. Like, yeah, no, it's got to be people that you find entertaining, you enjoy interacting with, you enjoy reading.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's been a number of ideas kind of thrown around there, like, hey, do we draft? And then as part of the draft, or maybe do a follow-up podcast where we sit down, okay, now you've got your roster. So assuming you're the booker, who goes where?
Oof. Ooh, yeah.
Right.
Like
so we could do so much fun stuff in future drafts. We could go and say, okay, here's, these people, your Fed that you drafted, and we have to do a brand split. So you and I just get on and go, okay, flip a coin, who goes first? Let's brand split your roster. Like, we have infinite ability to kind of go forward. Hey, you're going to book your first mega card, and it's my roster against your roster, and you got to book it. So let's go on the show and let's talk about the matches you book.
Yeah. How would we rate it though? How would we rate the matches? Like,
well, I think the question here is more about how would you put it together? So if you're envisioning like rosters, would you go, hey, I don't know who
how
your
would you
champion
lead up to it as well? And
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think one of the things it's funny, like I'm looking, could we do trades? Yeah, we could do trade. There are new rules. We could do whatever we want. We could do trades. Hey, hold on, pause. Before the next pick, I'll trade you this pick. And next round, can I have that guy?
Yeah, nice.
Right? I'm entertained by the fact that Angelica Latoya thinks, she's like, oh, I'm going to go last. I'm like, you don't have a clue. First of all, making it into the picks at all, given that there's alts, right? Like, you have 2 solid alts. I have a few. Storm has 46.
Yeah.
I might just draft an all Storm Fed. You guys don't know, right? I get, Storm with the 4th overall pick, and then on the snake coming back with 5, maybe I'll throw myself a little Dave Diamond in there, and then, next round, and you look up and I've just got nothing but Storm in my Fed.
How are you going to book that then?
I think that's what some E-Feds probably feel like. Right?
Probably.
I mean,
yeah. Well, we're going to have our fest. Are we going to talk about that?
Yeah, we're totally going to talk about that. Why wouldn't we talk about that? I think, some of you know that Mikey Unlikely is doing a classic 80s Fed, and 4 of us from Federation X are in on the ground floor. So it's about 2 months out from starting, and we're starting to put together the personas and characters that we're going to play in this Fed. And I really think, I love that you stuck or doubled down on the role you've really tried to live into in this revitalization with Tony by the character you've picked. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
I want to stay as the heel because I don't really want to have to split myself. And I think if I learn to be more of a heel in this Fed, cutting promos and stuff, it'll only help me over here. Like, my priority is FedEx, 100%.
Sure.
So I don't do something completely different over there and either have it distract me from what I'm doing over here. I'd rather than seamlessly. So if I do something over here and it works, I could do it over here. It's not going to really matter. I can learn from it. But basically, I'm going to be hopefully going to be Rich K. Hunt. and I'm extremely rich, and I'm basically just going to be Tony Robes, but rich, and like not a coward, just like here's a lot of money, leave me alone, piss off, or that sort of thing. And I am going to be my like the leader of the group called the Talent, all caps, and they are my employees basically, and they're basically three roided up meatheads. I think you all got face paint, and you're all like
Oh, I
like,
for sure do, because I'm playing one of the Road Warriors, right? Lars and I are basically playing the Road Warriors.
yeah, and you're gonna write in all
Cocaine,
caps
steroids, and nonsensical screaming interviews is what we're gonna do.
and then Kid's gonna be like an ultimate warrior. Like
Right.
you said, he's gonna be a cokehead. I honestly think like me and Kid are gonna struggle to not get like banned or warned within like the first week. It's gonna be difficult, but yeah, we're gonna give it a shot. See what
So
it's like.
I do think one of the things that, and I know we talked about it in our chat, one of the things that's worth pointing out though is, despite some of the bumps and some of the people who are like, oh, those FedEx guys are awful, those old school guys are really terrible people, Mikey was like, you 4-1 in, you can be in.
He did, yeah.
Right? He didn't kind of back off and go, hey guys, like I just don't want to stir the pot. He said, you're good. And so we really need to make an effort to not
100%.
be the guys who's like, I'm so embarrassed that I let them in. Right.
Yeah. Well, no, I want to go there. I want to do well. I don't think the post, like what we're gonna have to do, is really gonna trouble us.
No.
Like really, it's not gonna trouble us at all. And I think the thing that Tim suggested, where we go in and say, you all have consent to use our characters in any way you want, we're gonna sell it because that's what we do. Yeah. And give them sort of like a taste of how we do things.
You have my permission. Go to whatever you do. You'd be stunned how easily it will be. I mean, it would be easier for me to sell it if I wasn't playing like a roid up muscle, like such a narrow, like if I'm playing Alan or you're playing Tony and you're playing a very Tony type character, you can sell anything.
Yeah, you can twist it to fit your needs, no matter what. Yeah.
Some, like Road Warriors, like if you decide to sell that I don't know, wearing a pink tutu, like I can do it, but it's like with Alan, that's a way easier sell than it is when you're talking. Now I'm going to have to lean into that. Maybe I did a little bit of extra stuff in my juice this week. And I might not be all there, which is fine. Right.
But yeah, you can still sell it.
Yeah.
By just that easy sell.
And I won't get mad about it. Like that's, I think, the key thing that I think will be different for them. Is that we're so, like, I don't know you, but I assume if you're allowed in here, you're a good enough writer that I don't have to worry. Here's my character. You've read my posts. So use them.
Yeah. You should know what to do. Yeah.
You want to beat me down with the chair when I'm not looking? Cool. I'll sell the crap out of that. You want to have me run into your match and cost you the loss? I'll sell the crap out of that as well. I don't care.
Yeah. 100%.
Right.
We should, I think, I'm hoping that'll attract maybe one or two to come give us a try when they see it. Because surely when I saw it for the first time, I was like, because like I was an E-Fedder like years and years and years ago. And when I saw Wrestle for the first time, I was like, what? This is amazing. Like, I can do whatever I want. I can talk to whoever I want. It was, yeah. So there'll be some people who have been doing E-Fedding for years and then actually see it, and they're gonna have the same reaction. I think some of them.
Well, and I do think like it's funny to me. They thought, remember some of the early response when we talked about the fact that the Sims often decide our outcomes was like, oh, it's all Sim. But what they don't realize is that our story when we get into a match is all ours, and the only thing the Sim says is, here's the outcome. You guys figure out what that story looks like. And I think that's a big difference. Like, and true, we went 50-50 on this one, because in the old world, we were like, well, really, the Sim's not deciding the outcome. The fact that you're active and a writer is deciding the outcome, which I think is fine. But it is really different than they can wrap their head around from a distance, I think.
I don't understand, because I'm sure if the role playing some of them are probably D&D nerds or something. It's a dice roll. It's a D20 roll.
Right.
Like that's what the sim is to us. We just
Yep.
go the story the way the dice tells us to, and so I don't understand how they can't understand that concept. Like,
right, and so let's talk about that for a bit, because I think we've talked about it. And it's funny. Someone's up on the stream saying like Tony's story would be completely different if he was winning. So that's true.
100%.
Yeah. But here's the thing: when he does finally win it, right? Because all this crap where he's had to sell losses and screw jobs and all this, when it finally gets over, won't it actually be worth more?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Right.
It'll be, I think the second week when I lost to Devin, there was part of me that was like, fuck's sake, for the second week in a row, how am I going to keep selling these losses? But now I'm completely fine with it.
Right.
I'm 100% fine with it because I know I can still carry on. Like that loss doesn't really matter. I can still keep my character going. I can still keep my heat. Just gotta twist something somewhere. Like, and like you said, when I finally do, and I will, at some point, I will.
There's no evidence of that yet. So
it will happen one day. It's gonna be so much better. The story will be so much better, and the shit talk will be so much better after the 6 months of all this crap. Oh, it's coming back. It's coming back.
It will. Of course it will. It has to, right? But you got to take a lot of lumps on that journey.
Builds character.
Matt wants to know if we talked about the Ganja Ninja eliminating Tony yet. Have we talked about that yet?
You're so funny. You're so funny, kid. Well, as soon as you said that, like, I just wanted to drop into character and just, nah. You're so funny, kid. You're hilarious. So it's literally like 5 seconds later, Kansas Kid eliminates Storm. Like, he couldn't have just done us with Kansas Kid.
No.
He had to do me with Ganja Ninja.
Yeah, he did.
He's a prick.
Yeah.
I slept with naked, man. I slept with naked, man.
Okay, so hold on. We should talk about this because as we speak, Mano is working on the follow-up post. You know that we sent Naked Man to haunt you, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Ed and Mano get stuck in this long-winded conversation where Naked Man is telling stories, and they're like, it's been 9 hours. Like, what's the point of this story? Like, we did this whole bit that lasted like 2 days. And then we say, listen, if you'll go away and haunt somebody, we'll tell you what you want to know. And then Ed was like, not just anybody, like who we choose. And he's like, okay, who do you want? So we picked you and you turned it into this story. And so then the reverse or the turnaround on it is Mano's going to go back because Mano is very like a straight man by comparison. Like he doesn't swear. He's going to be like, hey, we said haunt, not rape. Like, what the hell?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good time. So it is really picking up. And I got to tell you, like when it's busy at work, like I've reached the point and I'm buried at work right now. If it's not tagged to my name, there's a good question whether or not I have time to read it. And so I need my updates. I have to listen to the dirt sheet. I have to listen to the slut show. Like I've got to do that if I want to know what's going on, because I just can't read everything.
I'm exactly the same, and I don't have your work schedule. But even I'm like looking at it thinking, I'm not tagged, so why am I? I don't have time to read this. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get a post up. So it's like,
right. Here are my choices: know what all you guys wrote, or write something.
Yeah, but I think that's always better, and I think everybody else is cool with that, because if you just like have a slight no sell because you couldn't read someone's post, I don't think anybody cares, because they'd rather you be writing.
Well, the truth is, like, there are certain things I pay attention to. So I knew when he put up a post. By the way, I loved Axel's post about the list. I was entered, so I read it because I knew Cole would be on it. Because I know that he likes to talk about how much he hates Cole, but I also know that secretly he loves that Cole is oblivious to that and thinks they're best friends. Like I know that he's entertained by that. And so I read it so that I could be like, so how do I make it So he's like, I got to start moving Cole up the list. Like he just won't go away. And it's, you know, so I pay attention to that. Or I know Weedy flagged me to make sure that I knew that he had picked up 2 separate titles, a Harbinger and a TV title. So he could walk around with 2 belts that were cannibals going, look, I'm actually the real champion because I have both of the belts instead of the one, which is brilliant, right? Like that's great stuff. So I do like that stuff, and I pay attention as much as I can. But then I go on and I'm like, oh, look, 42 Storm alt posts. I'll read the Storm fight with Tony Robes. I don't have time to know how much Dave loves Tony Robes.
It's a lot. So you already know it.
It's a lot.
So what's the point? Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I might actually like Dave as a character more than I like Storm.
Really?
Yeah, here's why. I think we underrate this. The character who is effectively nothing but a hype man for other people's characters is really entertaining. He has the freedom, and I steal it from time to time, but I don't do it as enough or as consistently as he does. So like I'll drag Johnny XS into a post and talk about how he's now overweight and he doesn't speak, and I'll just put dots and then I'll interpret what he said. It's kind of like that whole Groot Rocket Raccoon thing when they're talking, where Rocket's giving you the ability to kind of predict what he said. Like I love that mechanic that you get in Dave's posts, and the crazy psycho, like obsessive behavior, like that. Hey, I'm a wrestler too, but I'm also like a stalker and a super fan. It's grossly underrated for its value in like run-ins in a match, in forming a stable, in having a lackey go out and pick a fight with people. Like there's so much you can do with somebody playing that kind of a character.
Well, that's why at first I was like, I'm completely happy to sell Dave because he'll do literally anything I tell him to do.
Right.
So why wouldn't I have him hanging around? I'll put up with all his shit because it'll do literally anything I tell him to do. That's like, yeah. I have to. Like, right. I have to keep him around.
It's totally true. And I
could you imagine if he wins the tag team titles and gives them to us?
Yeah, it'll get struck now. It'll get struck down by the power base.
Of course they will. Of course they will. Yeah.
There will be no giving of titles to anybody.
Oh, that's disgusting. Of course the power base will step in.
But you're welcome, because you need that to feed your angles. So this is an opportunity for us. Let's pick at this a little bit. So we know lots of people. I'm going to throw out some names. You tell me if they make it into if they get picked in the top 60, and then you can have a go and you can throw out some names and I'll tell you what I think. And then we're going to, because I know everybody really wants this. People. What's that?
Current people.
Yeah, I think mostly. I mean, I'm fine if you want to throw out, like if you want to say Dice so that I can say no, we can do that. But I think what we're looking for is, like if we're going to draft this, it is a fantasy draft. But I think if we're going back and picking, like, I'll pick the Slammer from season. Like, really? Like, if you want to pick it, great. It just means you're leaving good choices on the table for me, right?
Yeah.
And then I think one of the other things we'll do is maybe we'll pick some people as we get closer to the end, and we'll actually say, okay, you'll go first and then I'll go first, and you'll tell us what Tony Robes will say about them, and I'll tell them what Alan Scott will say about them. Right.
Like it. Yeah.
And I think we'll have a little bit of fun with that.
Yeah.
We'll get a little bit of that. We won't be in character, but they'll get some of that in character message, which I think we can be pretty entertained by. And we'll just ask some questions and get into this. So let me throw some out first, and let's see. First, let's see. You can tell us, do you think they make it in the top 60? Okay. And then maybe follow up for each of them is, pick the number. Like, where do they fall? Do they fall in the top 10? Do they fall, in the bottom 10? Like, where would you see them? And somebody's going to get a little toasted on this one, but nothing like white heat to keep things going. So, all right. So let me start with a couple, and I'll try and stick with some easy ones early. So early on, we'll go with the easy ones. Let's start with your good friend, the Kansas Kid.
Oh, yeah. Top 60. Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah.
Okay. Now, where in the top 60?
Oh, 59. 59. Right ahead of Gina. Maybe. Right ahead of Gina. Yeah. 59.
All right. I think it's important we also say this because we're going to pick alts and we're going to assume the player is going to be able to commit the alt to full-time play. So when
we should prime that character.
Right. So if I say Gino, we're not talking about the 2 posts every 4 weeks that we are seeing right now. We're talking about prime time genocide and full out, right? Let's ask about Techno.
Techno. Yeah, because I know who one of the. I imagine Storm Maverick will pick Techno. Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah.
How early?
I don't know because I don't know the relationship between them. You'll probably have a better idea of it. Like I know they're a tag team now, but I don't know any of the major history and everything. So you'd probably be better answering that.
So here's what I think. I think if Storm doesn't get himself, he doesn't take Techno because he wants Techno to land where Storm is.
Ah, right. Yeah. So after Storm.
Playing it out, I think so. Right. So I think after Storm is the answer. And there's a push or a, hey, maybe you should take this guy because then you'll have a tag team. Right.
Yeah.
Does Chance get drafted? No, Chance does not make the top 60, huh?
No, not for me. Like I will say, I don't like Jake Price at all. I hate reading Jake Price. It's absolutely terrible. I read an old King of Wrestling judging that I did for a Jake Price versus Pava Shotty, and I read my judging for it, and I did not like that match, and I let them know I did not like that.
I remember that.
I did not like it at all. So I hate Jake Price, and I kind of hate Chance, but I really enjoy Faith.
Yeah,
I enjoy reading Faith. It's so crazy.
Faith was his best character, in my opinion. I agree.
Yeah, I really
why
like
it's
Faith.
The character I gave. I was happy to use to push Faith because I like the character. All right, so let's think about, let me ask you, from a tag team standpoint, we've seen lots of characters that kind of come together and form a team. Is there a chance that you would say no to Chance, but you might say yes to the Hot Girls as a tag team?
As a tag team, yeah. Yeah, not Chance on her own, but as the Hot Girl, because even I remember them from Wrestle.
Right.
Like that's how long ago they were around. And,
right.
Yeah. They were always top of activity.
We'll have to decide if we're going to allow the picking of teams.
I think we should, so long as it's as they are a team. They are not single stars.
Hold on, okay. So let's be honest. If you could pick teams, you're allowed to. How far does it go before somebody just goes, okay, I'll take Team SBFF?
Well, I think if someone's already taken Alan Scott.
Why would you take Alan Scott if you could pick Team SBFF?
Because they have to be both. Because then they have to be a tag team. Like when you say when we go into the book towards the mega card, you couldn't then have Alan Scott be your main event star because he's in a tag team. So he has to be a tag team build.
So what you're saying, so this is an interesting conversation because there's some great teams, and you're prepared to say, even if they're a great team, I don't want the team because I want the individual.
Yes, yeah. Because like Titus, like I'm going to pick Alan Scott really high, and when I'm coming to doing my booking, I'm not going to be thinking, I want Alan Scott to be teaming in with Genocide. I'm going to be thinking, I want Alan Scott to be main event. Mid storyline. So that's a really interesting because there are some other people, right? Like Eliezer is saying, like, I think you should have to pick them separately, which would lead us to a whole separate podcast where we could come together and go,
So what are the 4 best tag teams you could form off your roster? Like when we do a Legacy Invitational, who are the teams that? And by the way, we haven't done a Legacy in a while, but if we did another Legacy, wouldn't that be an interesting way to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like 4 roster captains who draft and then make teams out of who they drafted.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so they could you just make a brand new team and just be like, well, these guys have never teamed, but I'm going to put them together as a tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could do some interesting stuff like that. So that's interesting. I think we'll have to hammer our rules out about how we're going to do it, but I do think that leads to some interesting conversations.
I think maybe you should have an allotment of maybe 3-4 tag teams. You can't pick any more than, so you can't pick like 15 tag teams to get like a,
right.
Yeah, but you can maybe like pick 4 tag teams.
Or maybe we just say you have to pick 4 somewhere on your list.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're going to want tag teams in there, like for sure.
Right. Yeah. So which Storm alt other than Storm goes highest?
See, I don't know all of them.
Okay, well, let me run you down some. Inferno, Dave Diamond, apparently Sean Justice, Carissa Rain, Efed.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could argue Maverick, although he's the commissioner,
he's
right?
The commissioner picking.
Yeah.
I think Storm goes high. I don't know anything about an Inferno.
Terry Anus, don't forget her.
The way you said that with a straight face.
Mickey Poison.
I think Storm gets picked highest.
So I think we all know Storm goes early.
Yeah.
Who goes next?
Well, what was Inferno like? Was he like serious? Was he like?
He was, Kane-esque, a little bit more in the vein of Nighthawk and Deke, the Dark Knight, in that whole like mythic kind of character run. Undertaker, Kane, a little more mythic, a little more, but kind of badass.
Yeah, no, but is anybody going to pick that now for the roster?
Calgary Kid.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll either be Inferno or Dave that goes. If they go. Because
so
maybe nobody else will. Maybe nobody else will. There's a lot of great characters. Like
there are a lot of great characters. That's right. Okay, so I think this one's a slam dunk, but I gotta ask. Genocide.
Yeah, 60. Going at 60.
That seems so fake. Okay, your turn to ask. I will answer. You pick some people and I'll answer.
Okay. Kieran Crow.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just trying to think about how there's 4 of us. Top 16.
Top 16.
Yeah, maybe top 8, but definitely top 16. So somewhere in the first 4 rounds.
Okay. This one's going to be an easy one. Stan Daniels.
Yes. Dan Daniels. If Stan Daniels doesn't go top 4, we're doing it right.
I was about to say, is he like, top 1? Yeah.
Right. Stan Daniels.
Okay. Cream of some young guy, whatever his name is. What's his name?
Who are you referring to?
Cream of some young guy. The face heel. The guy from Japan.
KSI? Is that what you're calling him now?
Yeah, Cream of some young guy. That's what I was calling him in the Rumble, because it's like 5 words. So instead of putting KSI, I put Cream of some young guy every time I referenced him to
right.
build up my word count.
Gotcha. KSI. I don't know that he makes it. And I'll straight talk. Let me put on my Alan Scott for you. You want the truth? The truth is, I think there'll be a concern by the commissioners that the character won't stick. And so they'll be hesitant about picking the character.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay. Omega.
Yeah, for sure.
Where?
Maybe 20.
Okay. Stoner Boy.
So, I'm just trying to think now. It's you and me and Lars and Storm. So Gino is not the commissioner.
So it's probably a no then, isn't it?
Nobody's making Empire. I don't know that Stoner Boy makes it in.
Does terrific Tony Robes.
I think Tony Robes goes in the first 12. I think Tony Robes is, first of all, Storm has a love affair with him. I think he's fantastic. Somebody is going to lose out and not get Alan Scott, and they're going to need a watered down version, right? And so that's what they're going to do. I mean, you walked into it. What was I supposed to do? No, I think you have
do it so seamlessly, just like
yeah. I think you have opened a lot of eyes with Tony Robes as a player, and I think we're still just seeing the tip of what you're going to do with them, and I think that's going to intrigue a lot of the commissioners, and they're going to look and think, like, I can build a stable around them, I can build an angle around him, I can do the bad commissioner versus him. Like, there's so many options with that character archetype that it's going to pull you up that list. And just your general play with him has been so strong. Everybody wants the guy they know is going to stir things up, and that's what you're doing with him, and that gets you a lot of street cred. Plus,
appreciate that. I think I'm still learning.
Recency bias is really important. No, it's true. Recency bias is a real thing, right? So if you do, like, if you work with people who do a performance review only once a year, all you need to know is be amazing for the 60 days before the performance review. Nobody can remember you were a jerk 5 months before that. Recency bias is a real thing. And so you're crushing it right now. And so there's some players that probably were like that for a 3, 6, 12-month run, but we don't remember their greatness in that run, but we are remembering it for you right now because we're living it right now.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helps.
Indeed.
Right.
So how many of your alts, no, which, if any, which of your alts don't get in?
So I think there's a pretty good chance Joe Power doesn't get in. I think there's a pretty good chance Nighthawk. Well, no, that's not true. Tim likes Nighthawk. So Cole doesn't get in. Nobody's going to pick Cole. Probably Austin James doesn't get in. I think realistically, my big three get in, right? Like Nighthawk, yeah. Ed, and Alan probably get in.
Yeah, I think that's a set. Didn't you have more?
Yeah. Like Tori probably doesn't get in. What? Are we not? Yeah? Is that still a secret? Are we not telling people that it was you and me? Let's. All right. I think that, yeah, I did have lots more, but I think those are the big ones, the ones people know best. And I think that that's probably, like, Tim probably looks for, and maybe even points to, like, puts in his back pocket that he can pick the heroes and get Nighthawk and Gilgamesh, which is Randy and I, in his Fed with one pick. And that's a big move. And he likes them. Somebody takes Ed because they're like, listen, I like a 24/7 title. I like a guy who I can just point like a gun and get him to go pick the new guy and have a feud with them and get him engaged in the Fed. Like, somebody picks that. And I think Alan probably goes the highest because he is the best character I've made.
Yeah. He's the most scared as well, isn't he? Because he keeps.
Well, I mean, he's scared of being dragged into a boring feud with a watered down version of himself. I'll admit to that. You can.
He's scared. He's terrified.
And I have a quick question for you before we go on with this. Can Tony ever get enough to drink, or is he always thirsty?
Wait until you see the follow-up to Haterade. I'm working on the script now. It's very Alan-centric. Don't you worry.
No doubt. I figured it was coming, and I'm sure I'll be super entertained. I just want you to know there may be other follow-ups that are coming.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is this from you, or is it from Johnny Rude? I don't want to hear Kermit.
Speaking of, hey, let's talk about him. Johnny Rude. Does he get drafted?
Nah, he's trash.
Not even in the top. I don't think I agree with that.
Not even worth it. Like, why?
I think for sure he gets drafted. I think you're out to lunch.
Nah. I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. I don't think he's as good as you think he is. I think he's trash. Johnny Rude's trash.
I think that's a bad take.
Nah.
That's such a bad take that I think maybe Tony Robes wrote it.
Nah. Johnny Rude's just trash.
Yeah, that's not a good look at all.
Press 1 in the chat if you agree with me.
In the chat, Weedman thinks Rude makes top 30, maybe top 20. Storm says he'll take a question. Tim says your robe is showing. So
no, I'll be serious. Johnny Rude gets in. Yeah, of course he does. But he's also trash.
So one question I'm going to avoid, I'm going to go around this on purpose. I'm not going to ask you, and you're not going to ask me who we'd take first overall, because we still have to do the draft and we don't want to tip our hand on any of this stuff. But we're going to build, I assume we're going to build, I'm going to build a draft board. I'm going to watch as you guys take people off my board and know where I want to go.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have a,
yeah. And so there are clearly people we want to talk about. I think, one of my questions for you is, where does Of go? Does he get in? And if he gets in, is it Of Terror or is it Of Hugger?
You're right. Recency bias. Like, I'd probably want Of Hugger because
it's pretty cool, right?
Of Hugger right now. I love it. Like, it's really, really good. But also, when I first came to wrestle, and he probably won't remember, but my first Fed was CWA, and I was Christian Cole, and he held all the fucking belts in CWA. And he was the first guy that I was trying to feud with. And he probably won't remember that. And I liked him back then as Of Terror as well. But obviously, recency bias, like you said.
Absolutely.
Probably Of Hugger.
Does Lasher get drafted?
Yeah, of course. But I was just thinking, I was like, because I don't really know, but everybody else does.
Right.
Like everybody else does. I wouldn't draft Lasher because I haven't seen Lasher. I never paid attention enough to Lasher when because he was in Evo X and I was in Empire. So I never
so
we
I feel
run in the same
circles.
circles.
Do you ever have a moment where you think we abandoned Tim to the XX chromosome feds? Like,
yeah. Well, he drafted that way.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, so I have to respect this. Jay-Z has no shame, and so he's like, guys, I'd like to know if you think I'm going to get in or not. So let's hear it from you first. Do you think Jay-Z might make it in?
No, but that's not because of talent. It's because he's not. I don't think he's been around long enough to establish himself like some other characters are. I think there's 60 other characters that have established themselves a lot more because they've been around longer. We remember them. And Jay-Z's like, I remember him briefly in Wrestle, but most of my dealings with Jay-Z are here in FedEx during this run. And I think he just needs more time because he's so good. Like, he's really good.
Tim, I think, is with you, thinking maybe he's just like about 20% outside the list, like a little past it.
With time, he'll be easy.
I think you guys might be sleeping on him, and I like that because it means I can late round him and not have to worry about taking him earlier. I think recency bias is working in his favor as well. I had to be reminded by him who he was, and he'd been in FedEx before. And I went back and read some old stuff and was like, And then I started reading the new stuff, and I thought, this is a different writer. This is a better writer.
He's really good.
And so
he's really, really good.
I think the recency bias will help him. And the more you two talk about not wanting him, the more I don't have to worry about using, mid-round picks on him and still being able to get a solid writer in the late rounds, which, we're talking about a lot of guys. We're going to get a lot of solid writers in later round picks.
Yeah. I think everybody that we pick is going to be top notch. There's not going to be a fucking dicey Zale in there. Not,
right.
Everyone's going to be, which is the benefit we've got at the minute as well with everyone who's coming back, because we don't really have any jobbers.
Right.
Like, everyone knows what they're doing. We don't have anybody that we so everybody, it's so much better because everyone is like top tier writer pretty much.
Right. So I threw KSI out saying, like, listen, there wouldn't be enough continuity for you to get in, but he ran Magnificent for a long time. Do you think there's a chance Magnificent gets a pick?
Possibly, but it would be late. It would be late, but possibly, yeah.
Right.
Because Magnificent started out really bad, and the development, because I teamed with him and everything, the development of Magnificent, and he got better and better and better. He just needs to stick with a character.
Right. Totally agree. And I think that there's value in that. I mean, that's a little jaded, like when I go, oh, well, I'm going to play this and then I'll change and play that. But all of my characters have had a minimum of like a couple of years.
Yeah, they're established.
Right.
They're established, so you can switch between them. Yeah.
Right. So, I'm thinking about a couple of people, and I know we haven't seen him come back, and I know that we all want him to come back. Where would you? I mean, I assume we both are on the board that Benny Blair will get taken.
100%. Yeah, he'd be an early pick for me.
Yeah.
Honestly, he will be an early pick.
Yeah. So I think we're on the same page there, because I see that as well. I can picture that. Where would you put Eliezer the Prophet? Does he get in?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm trying to think. See, that's the thing, because I don't know where you rate them. You see, so where I would rate them, I'm thinking like there's probably about 20, 25 other characters that I would put over Eliezer, but these are like next level 25, and I probably won't even get them. So I'd say
you don't have to sugarcoat it. Eliezer knows you don't like him. It's fine.
No, about mid-20s, I think.
Okay. All right.
I think. But you might go higher. Yeah.
Another one coming in from our live stream, which I love. What about Amp?
Yeah, Amp would get. I was thinking I'd like to see Amp come back.
I don't know if we're going to get away with only doing 15 picks. We might have to do a two-parter.
We might have to do a Gino and just go over like he does.
Gino, it's top 5. I've only got 17, guys. Don't worry. I scaled it down. I love and miss Amp. He loathed that I used to call him sidekick with Alan so much.
I remember that.
And I was so entertained by how much he loathed it. Like, there are certain things that a character is just like, as a character, I can't have this. I hate this. And you're just like, so it's all I'm ever going to talk about when you're in my posts, right? Like, like every third post I do that I know that Axel will read, I slip in somebody calls him Alex. Right. And you guys don't know this, but so in our match that I brought his father for, he put up a post and ruined great plans. So, that for a long time it was people, typed up Alex by mistake. I put Alex in the rankings at one point in time, just to bug him. I was going to reveal the reason he hated it so much is that Alex was his dad's name and he's Alex Jr. and he changed his name out of his rage. And then he dropped the name for his father before I could do it. I was like, you screwed me. Like, it would have been so much fun. Yeah. All right.
It's annoying when plans like that go, but that's the risk we take, don't we? Because we're so open, it can change. But some plans that, like, think about all angles that didn't happen.
Right.
Like if they did happen, like, oh my God.
Listen, I mean, you know one of them, right? I long ranged it with you. I gave you no hints and just went, drop this name and sit back. And like every now and then I'll tell you what, and you were like, why? And I'm like, one day your stable's going to blow up. And on that day, you're going to thank me for this. And then people went reading the old boards and they're like, oh, you guys aren't the first team to be the new breed. And I was like, well, so much for that angle.
That would have been so good. That would have been so good.
It's so true. It would have been fun. Hey, Carnage.
Yes.
Where?
He's in everybody's top 10, isn't he?
That's right. But top 10 means top 40 if we're drafting, right? So where?
I'm going to go with him, top 10.
All right.
He's Mr. Top 10, isn't he? Really, he is. He's Mr.
Early
Top
picks.
10.
Early picks. Okay. Tougher ones. Aaron Action.
I know nothing about him, so I wouldn't draft him.
All right. Good news.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much that I've missed, like, honestly. No, because there's some picks I'm going to get that you're just not going to even think
for
of.
sure. I'll just be like, oh, I vaguely, it didn't even occur to me, but of course, sure. Yeah. There will be some of that. Naked Man.
Yes.
Where?
High. If Benny goes like in an early pick, Naked Man's surely going to go in an early pick.
So let me ask you this just straight up, because I know Matt's on the podcast, on the stream watching. If I take Naked Man early, do you intentionally take the kid so that he can't be in Naked Man's Fed?
Oh, 100%. You'd have to. Yeah, 100%.
And if I take the kid,
question, of course, next pick.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because like we can do this and then 2 months later bring 3-4 different guys on and get them to do it, and you'll get a wildly different draft.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because everybody's opinions of everyone, like everybody interacted with someone and someone different, and their interactions were different. Yeah, it would be so different for everybody.
So here's the thing. As one of the things we did that, there's lots of people talking about it on here. Tim saying, I'll take Count Justice and Victory Night. And
as a tag team. And,
right. And it's a great choice, and you get it. Who you take as a commissioner is different than who you take as a player. And we're drafting as commissioners, right? And I think if you haven't done a lot of work as a commissioner, maybe you see it a little differently. Like your favorite guy to read and write can be awesome, but as the commissioner of a wrestling fed, sometimes your favorite writer isn't a top 4 or 5 pick when it comes to building a fed, right? Yeah. And so, you have to consider some of that stuff. It's, I assume most of our top 2-3 picks are all going to be people you think the main belt rotates through and gives you a good diversity to whether it's feuds or angles but at some point you pick a tag team. At some point you pick the face because there's going to be a lot of heels. Like there are things that you've got to do so that when you're done, you can look at your fed and go, oh, it'll actually function.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, the added element of working towards a card, a big mega card, right? That's going to play a huge factor in it. Like, it has to. You can't just get like 15 of your best heels, because then how do you book the card? Like,
what does that look like?
Yeah.
I totally agree. Do you have any additional ones you'd like to ask me about?
I think the ones that would be tough for you. You've taken Amp. I would have probably asked Amp. Creamer.
No.
That was an easy one, really.
We could draft the top 25 players for each of us, which is 100 characters, and Creamer would not get picked.
No. I can't think of any.
Ask me if Dice would get picked in the top 100 characters.
I already see. I already know the answer. I already know the answer. Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah. See, I can't think of any more because it's like the names coming to my head. Johnny XS, yes.
Yeah, of course. And
Yeah,
an
like-
XS probably gets picked in the top 20.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, I can't think of any more like I don't already know the answer to.
Right. It's the ones you're trying to think about that you think might be at the fringes that I think are, or the ones you're not thinking about that are going to be interesting when we do the draft.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, someone's going to pick someone and you're just going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I even think of that? Like, yeah.
Right. There will be people where I'll just go, oh crap. But like I have a board of who I think is going to go early in the order I think they're going to go in, so I can pick at them. And then I have a whole board I've already started putting together where I was like, I'll bet you nobody thinks of these guys until I say them. And so I'm intentionally not throwing any of their names out now.
That's I've done the same. Yeah.
Right. It's an interesting one though. So if we're expecting some teams to actually go as teams, do you have any that you would point to and go, hey, that could be a thing?
Easily Wild Stallions. Easy.
Yeah. 100% Wild Stallions. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be the first tag team to go, maybe. As a tag team, maybe.
Right. Yeah. I love that as a pick. And I love that for anybody who, like me, loves tag team wrestling. Like locking them up and knowing you're always going to have a fun tag team division. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I also would not, and I know that they're both totally worthy of the individual pick. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of going early and taking Aggravated Assault as a team. Max and Elise are working together, have a chemistry that is great for storytelling. Splitting them up, they're both great, but having them together to me has a little extra value.
It does, but I would take Max early.
Would you?
Yeah, I hope he's not in the stream because like I'm about to inflate his ego. But like Max is like literally, he was one of my favorites when I first joined Wrestle. Like I read everything Max did. Like,
so here I'll give you the straight because I've given it to Bill a couple of times as bot shots, but I'll give you the straight on this. If I thought I was going to get 2008 Max, I'd take him early. If I thought I was going to get Boner Max, you can have him and I won't pick him at all.
Well, that's the thing though. We're getting the prime character, aren't we? So it's Max in his prime. So it's Max in his prime. So I'd take Max early.
I mean, Bill's kind of still in his prime. That's the problem. Does Amareza get a pick in 60?
In 60, maybe not. I'm not sure how many women get a pick.
That's the challenge,
There's probably a couple of women characters that will, but there'll be a lot that don't.
So I think Angelica's got a shot to get in.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you played hard, wrote well, and especially actually were a woman, you get a little extra street cred for that. Versus, kind of the way we look at, like, I think Faith gets in. I think Angelica gets in. I would definitely question how they could possibly do the tag team draft and not have the anus eye get in. Like, obviously they're going to get in. That's almost a slam dunk at this point.
Easily.
So don't you think?
Well, you've got to pick your own team, haven't you?
Well, I mean, if I don't, you will. Mab's out there saying that Angelica and Faith are both on his board as well.
Yeah,
Elizer's asking whether.
I can't think of many more after that. Like, them two did set 100%, but how many more after that? Like,
yeah,
I can't think of any.
I think there's some questions. Certainly there was a period. So I would bet money.
Haley.
Right. Haley. There will be some question as to whether or not Danny gets in. I don't think so, but it's not impossible. There will be some question about whether or not Eve Riley gets in. Again, I like her better as part of the Hot Girls than I like Eve Riley on her own.
Yeah, that's why I said like Chance and Eve Riley as the tag team. Yes, they'd get in.
Yeah. I like that. So we'll have to nail down kind of what
Kitty. What about Kitty?
Does anybody believe that Kitty won't quit in 30 seconds?
Yeah, but you're getting prime Kitty.
Wait, are we getting prime Kitty quit as well? Like legendary story we can talk about 10 years later?
You're going to have to, because it's prime Kitty, isn't it? So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the best Kitty quit ever.
Oh, that's tempting. Like the best Kitty quit ever. Like win the match and Kitty quit because the write-up didn't say that you buried your opponent.
Yeah.
Oh,
even better than that. Even bigger than that.
Even bigger. Oh, wow. Win the match and Kitty quit because we didn't also automatically award you a title belt at the same time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Does Kitty get in then? Does Kitty get in then?
And there are some really good characters we haven't even tossed around yet. There's some people playing now we haven't tossed around yet. Like I said, we've got 35. We haven't talked about Samite or Our Father. We haven't talked about Valentine, although we did say as part of Wild Stallions. But and he's got to last to that point, because I got to tell you, I like Val a lot.
I like Val. Yeah. He's like a much better version of the Kansas Kid.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And when he and we get prime version, so we get the mullet.
Yes. Yeah. Always better with a bullet.
Eric Legs is out there saying a Kitty is not on his board. Nobody believes you, Eric. We've already seen the love affair. We know that Maverick is going to pick her. You can't fake us out. That's not a real thing. Mike Dixon wants to know if he can be on our board. Mike, I would love to tell you an answer, but I don't know what characters you were. I don't know you by that name. I apologize. But if you throw it up there and I do know, then I'll tell you where you'd land on the board. Cannibal, obviously, sounds like a good option. We're being asked, will Wheelchair Eric make it on the board? My board is going to be up on the wall. You have to be able to get on a ladder to climb up to it. So, sorry.
Yeah, he's not on my board either.
Yeah, I can't help you with that. Mike is Cannibal. Well, yes, you're going to be on the board, Cannibal. I can't imagine you won't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm laughing because I've just asked if the board will have spell check, which is pretty entertaining. Okay. We thought we would save some to kind of our wrap-up time, and it's getting late where you are, so I think we're going to go into wrap-up mode. So I am going to ask you what Tony Robes thinks of. So I'll throw out a name. You'll say what Tony Robes would say about them, or about them being drafted in this draft. Then I'll answer for Alan. Then you can throw out a name, and we'll maybe go back and forth a couple of times.
Okay.
Sound good? I want to talk about some that we can really have a good go at. So let's start with Jason Storm.
Well, again, he's a stepping stone. He's just a stepping stone to me. I don't know why. Yeah, okay, he's great. Yeah. He's just a stepping stone. That's it. You're trying to make it somewhat bigger, Jason. You just... Yeah.
I love it.
Once I'm done, I'm moving on. Just come on, get over it, man. Just get.
So, does Tony Robes want Jason to end up in the same Fed after this draft or not?
If it keeps him away from me, then sure. Once we've had this match, and then he could just go away. I can't be bothered. The drama. No. You're a vampire stable now and everything, aren't you? Like, I just don't like comedy wrestlers. Stop it.
That's awesome. I think the Alan Scott position on Jason Storm is pretty well established. He gets a lot of attention for not being a good person. And he's, not a good partner. and he's certainly not a good loser.
Good.
So there you go.
Alan Scott presently. Gmo side.
So obviously, Alan believes that his Gramps is the greatest wrestler of all time and should be drafted and treated with that kind of reverence. But he's also concerned about the current state of his Gramps, who hasn't been right since Grandma left him. He's been a little off, and Alan's a little concerned about him, and so he doesn't know if it would be good for Gramps to get back in the ring right now.
He's a bitch. I'm not giving him any words.
Awesome.
I've said all I need to say about Gmo side.
Yeah. What about Maverick Dawson?
Okay. The best. He is the best. He's my tag team partner. We already know we're on the same page. Everybody wants to suggest that we're going to split up. We're never going to split up. We're good. We're on the same page, and he knows that me and him together, we are the best, and we will always be the best.
Interesting. I think Alan's take would be that it's fun watching young guys think that they've got the whole world by the nutsack. They look talented, pretty good. Not good, but pretty good. And
It's not over anymore anyway.
Maverick Dawson looks like the kind of guy who could really hold down, like a Harbinger division.
You said that like it's an insult.
Well, I think it's
the Harbinger title is a prestigious title in the Federation X universe.
Well,
I mean, it was an insult.
It has to be if you're not made to carry the brand.
So Cole Styles isn't made to carry the brand.
Who?
Right, I like it.
Yeah, I thought you would.
I like it.
Thought you'd get me with that, right?
I like it.
All right. Your turn. Let's give us one. Who you got?
Okay. Give me someone in the chat. Who's in the chat?
Everybody's in the chat. Weedy, Cannibal, Faith, Law, Tim, Angelica, Kansas Kid.
I'm trying to think of someone that we can both go at, because I've got some that one of us could probably go at. I'll let you choose. Because I'm trying to think, I want one that we can both go at, so I'll let you choose.
All right. Let's go tag teams.
Okay.
And let's talk about how we feel about the H&H connection.
I mean, they're so overrated. Everyone loves the H&H. What do they do? What do they actually do? They're just comedy wrestlers. Why are all the comedy wrestlers getting all the rub around here? Do the power base love comedy wrestlers or something? They're just do something. Just do something.
So, first of all, Alan would like you to know that he thinks they're both really good guys. And second of all, he would like to quote from the official bio of Titus Fuchs and say, Stan Daniels was in the favorite match that I've ever read. That's all you really need to know. Of Hugger is amazing, and Stan Daniels is one of the best. And the H&H connection are what everybody's talking about, because unlike some teams, they just win.
Listen, I can't disagree with you, Alan. I cannot disagree with you. They were great. They were good. They were so good. What are they now?
I mean,
what are they now? What are they doing? What
winning?
are they doing?
Winning. Yeah, I know winning doesn't seem important when you can't do it. You don't want it to be important for other people. I get that.
If you don't have the heat, who cares if you win? Who cares?
You know what brings heat?
What?
Winning.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
You spin faster than a DJ.
Cole Styles wins a lot. Where's his heat? Where's his heat?
Who?
Some jobber. You've never heard of him.
I mean, the Fed's basically filled with those now.
It's difficult to carry. That's why I'm trying to get you to come back, but you're obviously a scared little bitch. So I mean, are we ever gonna? When are you gonna grow a set?
Are you thirsty?
When are you gonna grow a set?
Listen, I had to do research just to know who the hell you were.
You didn't have to do research, Alan.
Clear.
You know exactly who I am.
I don't make a case of coming out of retirement to face guys who've never won a title. That's not a thing that happens. You don't have any milestones. You've got nothing to offer. You're the guy who walked into the casino and said, "Can I lay down a bet with $1 and win $1 million? Because I've got nothing to lose and you've got nothing to gain, but I still think you should let me do it." The problem with you, Tanya Ropes, is that you actually think you matter, and you've done what's your claim to fame is you were on some indie Fed list as of up and coming guys who might matter one day.
Have you seen my signature? Have you seen my post signature? Look at all the great things everybody in the Fed has said about me.
I don't know what that cost you, but I know that none of the things in your post signature are about victories, title belts, or King of Wrestling wins. So call me when you're somebody, because right now you're nobody.
Alan, you have to come back. Like literally, you have to let me get in character. You come back. We just do promos. We'll just do promos.
Just promo after promo.
Yeah, we weren't even right.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I think that's, one of the interesting things that we're going to see is so first of all, I'll bring Alan back when we have a sim that rewards me for being active and it's not 50-50.
Yeah, imagine Alan comes back and goes on a massive losing streak.
I'm out. I'll bring Alan back when there's a superstar title and I can just take it and be like, screw you guys, come at me. That's not true. I don't want any part of Stan Daniels and superstar title matches. That's not a thing I'm interested in. The draft is going to be, I think, we're going to get a little white heat. We're going to get a little of the battle. I think we're going to get some interesting fire from some people. I wonder if it's going to be a mistake for some people to really go into the vault for old names.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone, unless they were unreal, unless, well, I don't know, because I imagine you're going to pick Diggsy, but Diggsy's a fairly old name.
Yep. But if I don't pick him, Tim will pick him, and Tim doesn't pick him.
Yeah.
Matt
So there are some a lot older names like no, but yeah, what you see as older and what I see as older is very different.
Right, because we're talking about, first C-Slam Hall of Fame kind of guys. Are we picking them? Are we, is anybody going to take Iron Fist? I'm not
going to be picking any of those people because I don't know they exist.
And generally that's not something that I would pick either. But that's because, like I said, I'm going to pick guys I like playing with. And generally, here's who I like playing with. Not the guys that won all the USOBs, not the guys who jumped into all the Hall of Fames, the guys who write good story.
So why don't we just say FedEx only?
Well, that's an interesting
Because this is a FedEx thing. So why don't we just say FedEx only? They must have appeared in FedEx. Even if it was like a couple of posts and you're known, but they've got to have appeared in FedEx and had
right.
a run, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not against it. Like, I think that's a possibility. We could do that. And we're seeing some names get thrown out, right? So they're already talking about the fact that there will be a dirt sheet in advance of the draft and a slut show after the draft, which I think would be a lot of fun. Like, I think that would be a blast. Hey, I noticed that Alistair Fiend is on the stream right now. So let me ask you, does he get in the draft? Did we pick Alistair Fiend?
No, because this seems to be prime Alistair Fiend, inactive. What are you doing, Alistair? What are you doing? You started so well.
Tim says he can't remember well enough for FedEx only. That's totally fair. I have those days now that we've opened up the historic boards. I think there's a little advantage in that you can get in there and pick through some of those really old ones for sure. Yeah. All right. Any last people we should talk about? So how about this? Just a moment of no spin, no in character, pure honesty. What does Tony Robe's character really, not publicly, really think of Team SBFF?
He worships them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole thing. He worships them and he wants to get in the ring with them. He wants to be around them, like Alan especially.
Right.
And like the fact that he swerved genocide, like to Tony, that's like, yes, I swerved the douche.
Right. The greatest thing. Yeah.
Like, so yeah, like he'd never admit it, but he worships them.
Yeah. So that was my take on it as well. I wondered if that was your take on it. Like it showed, and it seems to be like the obvious, natural, like what he really wants is if they're done for them to pass the torch. Like he wants that moment where they're, clearly. Yeah, I agree. Only Alan's not that old.
He's not true.
Which was only ever funny because Ryan Scott.
That's why the fucking angle would have been amazing if you didn't open up the old boards.
Oh, listen, you guys begged me to open it. I opened it, killed the angle. But in thinking about that, one of the things that came out was I was talking to Ryan Scott about it. And we were talking because we go back because of Mano and Ed. And I said to him, hey, what about when we realized we were both playing Scots? Like, that wasn't planned. And we were bouncing it back and forth. He's like, no, I had made Royal Ryan Scott and you were already playing Alan Scott. And when we realized it, you were like, man, you're going to be my cousin. And like we drew, like, that was just random.
Was just spontaneous. That just let it. I thought that was, I figured you'd both made the characters at the same time. Like,
no. So Alan, and so Diggsy and I created the new breed, right? And that was our angle coming in FedEx when we first did them. And then they went away, kind of died off. And then when I was coming back in Wrestle, I wanted to bring Alan back and see if I could actually get him up and run with them. And I was trying to get Ryan to play with me. And at the time I was like, hey, are you playing? And he'd been playing in Wrestle while I was over in FedEx. He's like, oh, I got a new character I'm playing. And I'm like, who? And he's like, Royal Ryan Scott. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And he's like, no, why? And I'm like, because my character's Alan Scott. And he was like, did you do that? And I went, I've been playing him longer than you've been playing Ryan. So we had this conversation. And then I was like, okay, here's how it's going to play. And then very quickly after that, we like Genocide was in that Fed, and I didn't know Gino before. And XS said to me, you guys are going to hate, like, you're going to kill each other. And I went in with it like, but at the time I took a different path than you. I thought Alan, at the time, he didn't really know that he was a bad guy. Like, he really, really was a good guy. And so he worshipped Genocide. Genocide was the greatest wrestler of all time. And so I had a chance to win like a crazy 8 match or something for the world title. And I intentionally made sure the belt got back on Genocide. And I think for Miller, that was like like most players don't do stuff like that. And I was all about the story. And so then slowly that kind of morphed. We just started writing posts where we'd follow him around, like, let's go to the zoo today. It's our day off, Grandpa. Like, and started calling him Grandpa. And he used to get pissed and be like, I'm like 4 years older than you guys. Like, and Ryan and I, and he and Ryan always butted heads, but Alan couldn't see it through his hero worship.
Yeah.
And then eventually, when I started spending more and more time with him, the douche switch turned on for Alan, and he became the bad guy who didn't know he was the bad guy and genuinely doesn't think he's the bad guy. And that just became the dynamic around which we formed the good guys.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing how things like that just work. Like how
Yeah.
it just flows into it. And it's so much better than what you originally intended to. And it just evolves into, like
and as it evolved, it really did become a thing where, like, Rev wasn't originally going to be one of us because he's a face. And then, like, something happened in a match and the crowd was booing him. And so we came out like, you boo this guy? Like, this guy, America? Like, how could you swerve this guy? And suddenly Rev was one of us. And then Benny swerved Kitty and the whole stable they were building. and we're looking at the end and we're like, how does Benny end up in the group? Like, what happened there? And, Marlo was originally going to be outside the group and was like, this is a fruitless fight. Like, I can't win this fight. And we're like, you're a business manager. Clearly you can see your way to this being good for business. And he was like, yeah, okay. And then you got to look up at some point and be like, this is the NWO. Like, there's no opposition, and that's not
was
very
XS as well. XS as well.
XS. Okay, so and somebody said this recently, like, how does XS fit? And I'm like, we liked them? Like, I don't know. We liked them. Yeah, it was wild the way that all came together. And so from an honest standpoint, so because you did it for Tony, from an honest standpoint, from Alan's, a couple of things, and I know I've told you this before, but I don't think everybody else understands. So don't forget, and I certainly haven't, Alan owns the company.
Yeah, I hadn't forgotten that.
Best thing in the world for him is the new breed right now, and he knows it. He just really believes that if he comes back, it will kill the new breed's heat because he thinks he's the best there is.
Right. Yeah.
And
so
more than
that, going to have to do?
Well, that's the problem. Like, you're dead in the water now because his gramps said to him, "Don't give it to him."
What?
Gino said to him, "Whatever you do, don't give him what he wants."
You motherfucker.
And you know who he idolizes? Gino.
You motherfucker.
So it's a long road to get what you want. You're going to have to win yourself a King of Wrestling. Oh, you're going to have to get to the finals of the King of Wrestling, injure your opponent, open the slot up and be like, hey, this is your one and only. And maybe he'll be like, oh, the title and the moment? Maybe. But so the swerve, I think, really was your, like, I know it's going to draw him out.
Yeah, I really thought you were going to come out.
And I saw it, and I thought I might have to respond to this. Like, Alan can't.
Not?
I'll tell you how. And so I didn't play it. I waited because Gino said to me, let me have the next post. And I think we all saw it. It took him a little time. He had to lay on his couch and get over it. But, and by the way,
I did not swerve today. That was the best line.
Guys, I'm taking Genocide with the first pick in the draft. We're all clear with that, right? Gino's daughter is going to be the first overall pick, right? She's the greatest. And so I said to him, like, how you want to play this? And he said, the first thing he said, and I know he didn't end up writing it, but he said, the first thing Gino does is say to you, don't give him what he wants, no matter what. And so it doesn't matter that Alan wants you. So then Alan will do what he should do as the owner and go, like, the more you spout his name, the more everybody else keeps thinking about Alan Scott. And the more he doesn't give you what he wants, the more he's winning.
Okay.
right? Like I know it's a tough pill for you because I know it's what you really want. I mean, I knew that when you created Tony, right? I was super clear when you created Tony what you wanted.
Yes.
But I'd already said the same reason I won't give kid Austin James right now because I'm going to play Cole. Now that went.
No, you should. No, that's fair. You should.
Because Gino didn't want to actually be in with his character, and so actually this might end up being the best move for you because if he starts actually being Gino full time, there's a much better chance that he'll nudge me and go Team SBFF, and that's legitimately an opportunity. But then I have to figure out how to transition, and I'm doing some fun stuff right now with Oven High Five, and I don't want to bail. And I'm certainly, and I'm trying to keep Mano in there with Ed. It's tough. You can't be all of them, right? But I will say this: like Alan is the.
I'd want you when you could dedicate it to Alan anyway. If you,
and that's one of the things. Like if I'm gonna play Alan, I can't half play Alan. Like I gotta be prepared to go all in on Alan. And I think that only makes sense. Just like you're all in on Robes right now, that's part of what makes him great is that you're all in on him. If you were dabbling with him and playing Stoner Boy, you wouldn't be getting the same thing.
No,
right. And so from an owner standpoint, you're giving Alan everything he wants. You are stirring the drink constantly. Your outcries against the power base don't mean anything to him. It's just good drama for television. You've got a tag team part. Like he sees in you guys the stable that every Fed should have, which is the heel stable that everything else foils off of. And so he sees value in you. When he gets interviewed, he is going to build heat because that's what he does. And building heat for you right now is who? I'm sorry, what's he done? Why do you think I should know who that is?
It's okay, it's pretty soon. Because I swerved your grandpa and I'm about to kick Storm's ass.
So here's the thing. I thought about doing it. I was like, there's just no, like jumping in with an odd Allen post here and there just doesn't, like it just encourages you to chase something I'm not going to give you. So I haven't done it, but I was going to have him be interviewed and be like, so Alan, tell us about what happened. My grandpa got jumped by some guys. I don't know who they are. And just like, keep on talking, just like brush right over it. Like the important thing is grandpa's healthy. He's going to be okay. But Alan, let's talk a little bit more about the attack. Listen, some thugs, not really anybody, like they're probably two-time petty criminals that nobody knows them, right? And he would, because that's,
I would have wound me up.
He's Alan Scott, right? Right. This is what he does, right? Yeah. So it's one of those moments where you go, but if I wind you up, then you're going to want to uncoil, and then I'm not going to give it to you, and then you're going to be actually pissed. So I let Gino take it and run with it, which I think is great. And it's gotten Gino back in that vein. Like
I hope it gets him active.
Yeah, that's right.
As an active Gino is good for the game. 100%.
Great for the game. Yeah. I do think though, and have you ever considered this? Because I've thought about it a little bit. Like I don't mind that Ed is aging, but at some point, certain characters just won't play well if we play them like they're 50. Like, do we need to
have to age?
Right. But do we not have to look at some point and be like, hey, you know what? Batman's been 30 for 50 years. That's part of what makes the story work. Like,
I suppose.
Do you really want to lose Genocide? Like at some point we can't be like, hey, so you're actually so old that when I power slam you can't move for 7 minutes.
Well, I think we'll just limit it. They're just old. We'll never specify it. They're not in their 60s. They're just old. Right. Because then that gives the new rookies chance to, they're old guys, but we never say that, they're 80 years old in a Zimmer frame. They're 50. Like.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of think like old in wrestling terms probably should be like 35 to 45.
Really? That's like people's prime these days.
But that's my point, right? Young guys should be fighting their way up to join that group. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's, although, hey, man, at 48, Edge looks better than he did at 28, right? Like, can we just acknowledge that? Dude is ripped.
He got a chance to, like, if you think about it, though, he'd have healed after so long off. He doesn't have the wear and tear. He can just focus because they don't really get loads of chance to work out, do they?
No. And I know you've probably seen the thing they did, but I know I've told you guys before, like my good friend that I grew up with knows them, like they're personal friends. and he said he went on the same diet that Rey Mysterio went on, and so it's like a special food service. They prepare your meals and stuff, and I think like he was always a workout guy, but I think that's how he cut so well. Like his diet was super regimented. Because when I saw him come out, I still watched that because it's such a great pop when he made his return at that Royal Rumble.
At the Rumble, yeah.
And he's standing there and he lifts his arms and you just look and you're like, is that a 12 pack? Like, what the heck, dude? You're almost 50. You still have abs? Oh my gosh. That's insanity. Cannot believe it. Yeah.
Even Hogan's built now. Like, I mean, he's not like he used to be, but if you look at, he's still a big jack dude. Like, and he's God knows how old.
No, it's not the arms that go right. It's always the gut coming in that kind of kills the look. That's, I think, part of why I don't mind aging Ed the way that other characters shouldn't age, because he's a street fighter, and so it's fine. Oh, you want to call him 50? I mean, 50 and brass knuckles to the side of your head is still out cold, right? Like it.
How old you are?
Right. He doesn't need to be fast. He doesn't need to kip up. Like that's a young man's game. You kip up, and he just punches you as you come up, and he's like, "That was cute." Like that's Ed. He doesn't care. Like you did the cute thing. I'll just punch you again.
You wouldn't have read the interaction I had with Tony and Ed, would you, in the Rumble?
No, I probably missed it.
I did an interaction with him, and we just sort of talked because obviously there was history. Because at the start we were sort of like interacting,
right?
So we had like a cute little conversation, like a little bit of banter back and forth, and it was just like, "Are we gonna fight?" And Tony's like, "Yeah, let's hurry up then. You were blabbing on too much." So Ed goes to punch, Tony rolls through, rolls out the ring, and walks away. Ed just stands there like, "You fucking pussy," and Tony just walks away, giving him the middle finger, like, fuck you, Grandpa.
That's a perfect interaction for them. That's so good. That's so good. I also got to say, while we're talking about it, how much I loved. So first of all, I love Carned.
Oh, yes.
And the fact, so we were joking, and I said, this should happen and this should happen. He took one of them, and it was the moment that Ed and Carnage were in the middle of the ring, and I don't know if you saw the post, and they're beating the crap out of guys, right? And stomping on them and spitting at them and hitting them some more. And Omega and Manowar are leaning against the ropes going, which one's yours and which one's mine? I can't tell, right? It was such a great line. I was so entertained by it. And so I think, one of the things we may do as a fun off-card post is, I said to him, we'll do the Ed Olympics, where we'll see who's more Ed than the other. And so we'll have competitions like, how many faces can you punch in 5 minutes? And like, how many curse words do you know? And how many different girls' names can you call somebody? And like, and we'll just have posts of him and I doing this kind of stuff. So it's definitely something we've got to do.
Is that the repost he did? Because I haven't read that yet.
I don't know. I didn't see if you reposted it or not.
Oh, okay. He did a repost out of the Rumble, and I haven't got around to reading it yet. So hopefully that's it. Because I'll read that. Yeah.
I love that was his version of Overselleria. Like that's so good. It was so great. All right. So draft is coming up. We've intentionally not talked about who will take first overall. Is there somebody, last thoughts before we wrap up tonight, because I know it's super late for you. Is there somebody will go in the top 60, but you can guarantee us will not go to your Fed?
Guarantee. Have we decided a draft order?
We have not. We'll probably do the draft order live on the dirt sheet.
Okay.
As a big reveal, right? It'll be a surprise for all of us. And it'll be a snake draft. So if you pick 1, then at 4, you pick 4, 5, and it comes back. So you'll get 1, 8, right? So we'll snake. So
okay.
Any thoughts on people that you can
change, like the draft order changes things? Because if I don't get first pick, Alan Scott, he's gone. And what was the question? Who are you going to get? Who
you won't pick.
Who I definitely won't pick.
Right, where you're like, I know they're going to go in the top 60. They're not coming to my Fed.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, okay. So you want me to shit on someone?
Yeah.
Johnny Rude. It's
fair. I got to think for a second. So I think based on what Eric said on his, I can say with certainty, Eve Riley won't get picked in my Fed. not as a solo.
Yeah.
Would I pick Eve in a tag team? I would, but Eric seemed to think that Eve would be on his board as someone he would pick. So there's no danger that I'll pick. He can long range her out to late rounds and still get her. There's no danger.
I'd rather have them as a tag team. I won't
right. Totally agree. All right. Hey, thank you. The last couple hours have been fun. We've had a couple of good laughs. We will, be back. I don't know the week we're going to actually do the draft. I do need to coordinate that with the team, but we'll make an announcement. Like I said, hopefully we'll get a dirt sheet. We will get a slut show afterwards. Could be some pretty good conversation. And, recency bias is a thing. Maybe you need to hit the boards and wow us and move up a couple of slots. Like, you just never know. And we'll be back next week. I don't know. Actually, we may not be. It's my daughter's birthday party. So, or we'll do it Saturday. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll be back.
Can you get a naked man? Can you get a naked man?
I would love to. Hey, naked man, if there is any chance that you would like to come on and have a conversation, I will stress this, neck down, head down, you can be as naked as you want, but you can't stand up. You got to have some kind of rules. All right. Thanks, everybody. Great to see everybody on the live stream. Have a great, hey, get some rest, man. We'll see you next time. Okay. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Bye.